Hey, Uncle Deke here. Gonna take you on a little ride. This is the flight camera footage from one of my flights on maiden flights on the Kraken. A little history behind the Kraken. I wanted one as soon as I saw Josh do a video on the Kraken and the Kraken build with Josh and Josh. Had to have one. I like big planes, like wings. When the offer was out, if you wanted to be a sponsor for their Flight Fest, I jumped on it. One of the things I got was the first set of Krakens to go out. I've been watching for videos, and I don't believe there is one on there yet other than these. So I think maybe I'm the first of the people to get one, to fly one, and I'm pretty sure the first one to fly at FPV right off the bat. We did our maiden flight FPV. That's a little iffy maybe, but worked. Tell you a little bit about some of my concerns. Now that picture right there, our field has been flooded a couple of times this year, and that's standing water there that's been there for over 2 weeks. Things are a bit soggy right here. This is, of course, river bottom land. We didn't have the patch antenna turned the right direction. It's going to clear up here in just a minute. But that's a river that goes right by. And there are several places where the river just jumps over its bank. Flying the FY31AP autopilot with the Hornet OSD, and I've got the OSD set where it's open picture in the center and all the information at the bottom. When you take all that overlay away from it, it gives you a lot clearer picture. How does this plane fly? Well, it's a floater. I'm gaining altitude here, running 13 amps, but when I get to where I want to be, I'll pull it back and you'll see it drop back drastically. Now those two motors, the Sunny Sky motors, are really good, really good. They seem to be drawing a lot of juice out of the battery. Of course, we've got two of them. And this is a 3-cell 5,000 milliamp battery that I'm running. And we think probably the propellers. These are just basically they're propellers off of one of my quadcopters. They called for 10.45 slow fly props for this plane, and it is fine. It is perfect. But I think these slow fly props flex too much, and I think they're very inefficient. So we're going to try some different props. My buddy Gary has got some other props, and we're going to try them and see if that helps a little bit. I think if we get a little bit more bite on the wind, and might be able to save a little battery juice. This particular flight was in the air was about 17 minutes total. I'm dropping back a little bit. That's 7 amps right there. If you look in the lower corner, left corner of the frame, you can see how many amps I'm pulling. But you see, it's really drawing a lot. Now this is not the whole video. This is cut out, so it's the time you've been watching it is not representative of the amount of amperage I've drawn. A little bit about the plane. It's a huge plane. I don't know where I'm going to put the silly thing. I can't hardly get around in my shop with it. I keep banging it on things because it's so big. Little glitch right there because I was right overhead. All of this has been within the confines of this field. Didn't want to go too far on maiden flights. Now this is actually the 6th flight on this, in this one day. It was just so much fun to fly. We just finally ran out of batteries and had to call it quits because it is a hoot. Okay, back to the plane. The construction is amazing. Now I'm going to take it one step further, and they show you how to put the mineral-based Minwax on if you want to paint one. Well, I don't want to paint it, but I want to protect that paper, and I call this the world's largest FPV paper airplane because it is mostly paper. I mean, it's a little thin slice of foam covered with paper on both sides, and the paper gives the foam the strength. So you got hot glue, foam, and paper, so it's a big paper airplane. And it's fairly heavy, really is. But the fun part is the wheels. It takes off from the ground. I've got lots of wings, but it's the only one I have that takes off and lands with wheels. But it lands super easy. I tried the hinge setup that they had. They want you to spread hot glue along the hinge line and use that as a hinge. I think it would be really, really good, but I'm not very good at that, I guess. I got it on maybe too thick, and the hinges are just too stiff. So I cut them and used my old standby, the string tape, and really needed to be pretty flexible. There's not a lot of throw in it, but you need what there is. And I thought that the ailerons were way too big. They're not. They're representative to the size of the airplane. I hope you've seen the video with the lights in it. I put the lights inside the wing when we built it. It's one thing they suggested, and you have to do it when you build it. There's no other way to, because when you put it all together, it's together. It's going to be together forever. It was a little bit of a trick putting the flight control system and FPV stuff in, but I was able to put it all inside. The only things outside is the Hornet and the 31AP, and it's where I can take it off and adjust it and get to it. The flight camera is just in a piece of foam that's velcroed on the bottom too, and then the really high quality pictures that I'm going to put on are taken with a Mobius on top of the wing, which you can put in this thing. You could probably put 15 cameras on it. Weight doesn't seem to bother it. It just sort of jumps right off the ground. It's all wing, and there's plenty of motor. Just need a little bit more efficient propellers. Had a little bit of a problem getting the CG right. I talked back and forth with the flight test crew quite a bit, and of course Josh can fly anything, but wings have to have the CG right on the money. And I was making it a little bit nose heavy, and you really don't want to do that. The CG has, they put holes in the plane, punch holes in it, cut them in with a laser, and that's your CG. And the CG has to be right on that, and I'd say teetering on that with just the tiniest bit of down. You don't want to lean in back, but just a tiny bit of nose heaviness, just on the ragged edge of nose heavy. That was we kept playing around with battery placement to get that CG just right. It would fly, but it just didn't fly very good at all. And also I've got all that electronic stuff in there, which kind of messes up things a little bit. It's pretty sensitive. But when you get the thing all adjusted and get it where it flies like this, look how stable this thing is. There are pictures here where it just is floating. And I like to fly a little high. When I got up in a thermal, it just started taking me right up. In the left side of your picture here, there's always a thermal over this field. And I got up into that thing, and man, I tell you what, this is a kite. And when you want it to land, you have to really get down low. Your final approach has to be pretty low because it's a floater. It doesn't want to come down very good. It's a flyer. It likes to fly. It wants to fly, and it flies nice. I think these pictures are pretty good pictures for flight camera ones. This is a Security Camera 2000 recorder. Basically, it's a 3-channel. It would handle up to 3 cameras for a security system in a home or even a policeman's dash cam recorder. I think it's doing pretty good. Now they now make the same version of this for people like us in a single channel. My buddy Retired Time Productions, he got one of the single channel ones and he's real happy with it. In my opinion, you've got to spend $100 or more for a video recorder to get a decent picture. So many of the cheap ones, the recording is so poor quality you can't see the numbers on the screen, and the numbers are what you're after. Okay, now we're coming in for final approach. Little high on this. Gary kept telling me to get a nose down, and he says, well, you better go around. Well, once I get my nose down, man, I'm going to land. Wheels, a little bit different deal. You got to think about that. You can't just plop it in. But man, that lands sweet. And this grass is pretty tall here too.